Hello and welcome to Lightning Component Development Session Day 17. This is Amit and today we are going to learn about Lightning Data Table. Under Lightning Data Table we will learn three concepts, that we will display simple data table using the same. Then we will see how we can add row level action on the data table, and then we will see the inline editable data table. That means inline edit data table. And then we are going to learn about lightning layout, how we can create different layouts in the lightning component with the help of lightning layout. And then for the lab work we are going to configure all remaining objects that are there remaining. First we will be configure cart object. Under cart object we are going to create a new object, that is cart item, and then we will develop the cart details. And we also have to configure two more objects. One is coupon, so that if anyone is have coupon they can apply that coupon, and then other is address book, so that we don't need to input the address again and again. Once one is sign up, they will use their address for billing or shipping purpose. So let's go ahead and see how the lightning data table works. So this is a simple data table. There is a tag, that is lightning colon data table, which requires mainly three attributes. One is key field, that is the required, and all other attributes are optional attribute. Data, the data that we wanted to show on the component, and then columns, the header of the table, and then this checkbox is hide checkbox column. That means either we wanted to show the checkbox for selecting the record or not. And for the data it requires it takes the list of records, and the columns it's also take the list of columns. So let's go ahead and implement. Before we go ahead, you can see on the bottom of the slide this is the format of the column that we need to put into the lightning data table. Whatever the label, whatever the header will be the of the table, and then the field name, the exact API name of the API that we wanted to show, and then what is the type of, either it's URL, phone, text, email, currency, number. And then we can also specify some type attributes, like for the URL we can specify target attribute. For the currency we can specify what will be the type of the currency, either it will be USD, Euro, Chinese yen, or Japanese yen. For the number, for the date time, we can specify what kind of format we wanted to show. So let's go ahead and create a data table component. So here this is on this, just go ahead, click on new component. We will be naming as data table, and in this data table what we will do, we'll just show the information of account on the data table. That's it. So what we'll do, we'll just create two attribute. One will be data, type of will be object, and then other will be columns for the column. And we will also name it as object. Then we will be creating a division tag where we will be placing our lightning data table. If you wanted to specify RID, we can just provide RID, name it as account table. Key field is the unique field that will be unique for each and every row. Then what is the data for that table, that will be v.data, and then what are the columns. So we will be okay. So now what we will do, we need to bind the columns, and then we also need to bind the data. So at the initialization of the component we will be calling the init system event that will be responsible for fetching the objects fetching the data and the columns from the JavaScript controller. So let's go ahead and add the handler for, sorry, it will be handle instead of event, so that we can get the columns and data as well. Okay, this is because of this, it should be value instead of values. So as we saved it, let's go ahead, create the controller for this. So inside the controller we will be adding the columns. So what we will do, we'll just go ahead to the component library, open the data table, and then in the data table we will be just taking the reference of a single column. So let's go ahead, copy this, and we will be pasting it here, and we are going to remove all these columns. Replace this CMP with the component. Column is the same attribute that we are using here. Its use label as account name. Field name will be name, as the API name of name is, it starts with the capital name, so will be name here. And then we are also going to show the industry, rating, phone. So let's go ahead, add this as industry, that will be the same as industry, and text will be type rating. The type will be also text, and then phone, API name will be phone as well, and then type will be what it should be, phone. So let's save it. Now as we are able to we are adding these 4 columns. The label, what should be the header, field name, what will be the API name, what is the type, and if you want we can also add the another attribute that is called as type attributes. So we are not going to use that attributes as of now, we will see later. And next thing is to call the action. So what we'll do, we'll just first we will go ahead and create an Apex class. We will say that data table aura services, and then inside that we will be going to create a new that will be returning list of account, return select ID, name, rating, industry, phone from account. So now we will be using this class as a component of data table controller of data table component. So let's go ahead and use the controller, and then here now we will use this method to get the account. So let's go ahead, create the action for fetching the accounts that will be used with the help of C as an action providers, and then the name of method. We don't need to send any parameters as we are not sending any parameters, so we'll just use set callback, that will be this, and then the callback function, that will be response, and then we will be sending the action. Yep. So here what we'll do, we'll just get the response. First we will check for the state, that will be if this has been success or not. So we will check as state equal to success or oops or state equal to draft. Let's leave the other things. We will return the response value using the help of get return value, and then we will set using the approach that will be component.set v dot data, and the data we will be adding this response value. So now what we'll do, we will go ahead, use this component data table under our Lightning application, and then we will see how does the things work. So let's go ahead, C colon data table, preview this, and we will be able to get the response in the form of data table. We are not getting, why? Let's go ahead and inspect the same. So we will be coming here over our component, and that will be data table. Okay, we are using data. So first let's go ahead and see what the state is here. Either we are getting success or error, and then after we'll debug the things. We are getting success. Okay, now let's go ahead, debug the response if we are able to get. Okay, refresh this. Okay, we are also able to get the response that are 16 accounts we do have. Okay, so let's make it as text. Component.set v.columns v.data. Okay, here we are using col. Here you can see this spelling is wrong, columns, it should be this. So let's go ahead, refresh this. Yep, now we are able to get the records here as a table. You can see now, if you can also see the checkbox are here, that we are able to select the records. You can see the drop down, we can wrap the text, you can also see, we can also resize the columns. You can see the phone is in a valid format, that should be, or if you wanted we can also change the format of the phone with the type attributes. So what if we wanted to hide this, we don't want to use it to select this account using this checkbox. So what we will do, we will just go ahead to the Lightning data table, go to the specification, and there is a attribute name that is hide checkbox column. By default is false. What we need to do, we need to use the value that will be true. So now if I'll refresh this, I'm getting the result, and you can see the value is gone from here. We are not able to see the checkbox anymore. So first what we'll do, we'll just add the class here for the padding. So I'll go to the card detail. Nope. Yep, I will copy this and use in our data table, so that we get some padding around all over. Yeah, now it's okay. So as you can see that we are able to get the data. So now what, if I wanted to select some rows and then I wanted to perform some operation on those. So let's go ahead, make this as a false, as we are able to, you can see we are able to select all the accounts. Now what we will do, there is another attribute that is called as on row selections, which will fire the action of JavaScript controller. So let's go ahead and find this. That's the name of attribute is on row selection. You can see it's a type of action that is a global. So let's go ahead, copy this, and then what we will do, we'll just see dot do select record. So here on this do select record, we will be adding a new method on the JavaScript controller that will be responsible for selecting the records. Now let's just put that alert, that is record has been selected. That's it. Now we'll see either we are able to get the response, get the alert or not, and then after we will implement the same. You can see record has been selected, but we are not able to get which record. So now what we'll do, we will use the event method that will, let's say that selected rows, and then we will use event.getParam, and inside getParam we will use an attribute that is called as selected rows, and this will return the array of all selected rows, whatever rows has been selected. So let's go ahead, console it, and then one more thing what we'll do, we'll change the services to the limit of 5. Okay, let's go ahead, refresh this. We are able to get, we selected one. Now let's inspect the element, go to the console. You can see selected rows is this. On the array you can see whatever the record we have selected, we are able to see. Now if you select this, you will able to get the length of 2, array of 2, whatever the objects we have selected. So using this simple concepts, using the simple event.getParam and selected rows, we will be able to get the selected rows. Now we can perform whatever operation we wanted to perform in the selected rows. And if you also unselect this, you will get that unselected values are here, that are that we wanted to, whatever the selected values are there. So this is the simple way. For example, the use case of this, this will be, I just wanted to show the records, the list of records, and I wanted to perform some update operation for the some fields on the selected rows. I can select let's say there's 3 of these records, and then on the click of button I can take these 3 records, open a modal, or take them to another component where we can update the values on the selected rows. This is something like we do on the VJ page with the help of wrapper classes for the multiple selection of the object with the help of checkbox. For example, if you uncheck this, you will get nothing here. On the inspect element, you will get nothing here. That will be length will be 0. It will always return something. It will always return the array of record. If there is nothing, the length for that array will be 0. And if you click on the top of the checkbox, you will see you are able to select all 5 records, and here you will see the length is 5, and here you will get all those records 0 to 4, that is 5. So this was the simple example of simple data table with the help of select table how we can select the records on the data table. So now this is, data table is row level action. So how row level action works, let's say that we wanted to define some action on the row level of every data. Like I have a table, I have 5 or 10 rows, I just wanted to define the action at the row level. For example, First, how to define the action. So to define the action, we need to add another row either on the last of the columns or on the first row of the column. Type will always be action. We don't need any label or name or field name. And then type attributes will all contains an array that will be row actions, and actions will be at the array. How actions will be defined? Action will be defined like this. It will be array. Let's say that label, name, icon name. You can also provide another action name with the help of comma separated. And then whenever we will be calling this on row action, we will see this action. It will be written this complete action, whatever the action has been selected, and the selected row, whatever the for which row that particular action has been taken. So let's go ahead and see how this works. So first, what we'll do, on our table we will add one more column that will be type of action, and then here we will be adding type attribute, and type attribute will be taking a parameter that we saw, row action, and then row action. You can see here row actions, it's row action instead of action, so it will be row action type attributes. And then here for action, let's define the action. So how we will define it? Takes the array, so we'll do that label will be show details, name will be show underscore details, icon name we can action colon preview, and then we can also add another column. Let's say that we wanted to add another column that is named as delete, so we will be using here delete, and then on the icon name we will be using this delete action colon delete. Copy this. Oops, we are getting some errors. We are getting error on line number 18. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to provide action over here. Oops, because of this. Okay, type attributes take like this. That was the error. Now we are able to resolve all the errors. Now let's go ahead, don't do anything on the backend side as of now. Refresh the page and we will be able to see the action. You can see the drop down here. You can see show details, you can see the delete with the icon name, whatever the icon we have provided over there. Now how it will work? I'm clicking on show detail, but I'm not able to get anything. So for this, there is one more attribute that is called as on row action. So let's go ahead on the data table, get the correct name, that is on row action, copy this, and we are going to use c dot handle row action. So here how it will work, go to the controller, add another method that will handle the situation. Okay, so how it will work? So we will be use, let's say that action event dot get param. What we need to use, we need to get the action. What is the type? Type is action, so let's go ahead, put this action over here, and for which row it has been clicked, we will use event.getParam, and then we will add row. So now what we will do, we'll just console, we will console action, we will console row. And we will see what output we are getting. So let's go ahead, come here, click on show detail. You can see we are getting action, we are getting the proxy, whatever the row is here. So okay, leave it this. Now let's go ahead, alert here action.name, whatever the action name is here. You can see name, see icon name, and then here let's say row.id. Refresh this, and then we will click on show detail. We are able to get the name of action, whatever the action is, and then we are also able to get the record ID, whatever the ID we click. Now let's go ahead, click on delete. You will see the name of action delete. This will be ID of whatever we selected. So now we can do whatever we wanted to perform. So how we will do, either we can use if, or we can use switch on this action.name. So let's go ahead, implement switch action.name, and here we can add case. So if it is so underscore details, we can just say that alert row.id, and then break it. Let's test this and see if this works. I don't think it is working. Oops, so this case is, I'll almost forget that. So let's go ahead to the data table example section. You can see row level action here, select that, okay. So here this is how switch works. Okay, case, then what is the case? Okay, now this is how this works. Let's go ahead, come here, refresh the component, select any application, show detail. We are able to get the ID. Let's say that if you wanted to show the name as well, that's it. And on case of delete, we can also delete. How it will work, on case of delete, what we will do, we will get whatever the data we have, component.get without data. So we will get data with the help of component get method, and then we will check the index of this data, the index of selected record on the whole records. As we have 5 records, if I'm clicking on this record, the index of the selected record will be 2, and then we will be going to remove this, the record that is residing on the index 2. So what we'll do, we'll just get the index let's say that index will be data dot index of row, and then what we'll do, we will perform an splice function, data dot splice. It takes 3 parameters. One is the index, and then either 0 or 1 or 2, how many records we need to remove, and then we will set the updated value to the v.data so that we can show that value on the table. And here we will add break statement so that other case doesn't execute it. So here let's remove this, refresh this, click on delete. You can see we are able to remove. Click on this, that is edge communication. You can see we are not able to see the edge communication here. So how does this splice function works? So let me show you how this will work. Splice takes 3 params. First one is index. Either we wanted to add value at that index or wanted to remove. Second one is the number of items to add or remove, and then third is optional list of items that we wanted to add. So as here we just wanted to remove this index value. How many items are there? Only 1. So we wanted to remove whatever the value are there at this index, remove that from the data, and then whatever the updated value we have on the list, like I removed 1 record, there will be only 4. Set that data back to the component so that component gets refreshed automatically. So here this is just a simple example to illustrate how this splice method works, how the delete method works over here on the data table without refreshing or without calling the application from the backend or calling the methods of the Apex class. So if you wanted to delete the record from the database, from here you can call the helper method. That helper method will call the action for and perform the delete operation, and then on the success, if the deletion has been successfully completed, you can perform this particular steps to update the table, to remove the data, whatever the data are already there, so that existing records will be removed, the selected one will be removed. And then on case of show details, you can, instead of alert, you can just either create a model, or you can just use the page reference to navigate into the different component, or if you wanted to use lightning record map to show lightning record form to show the data over here, we can use that as well. So these were recording. Next is how we enable the lightning data table as an inline edit. So here, as we can see, as of now we are not able to inline edit, but the requirement is to, instead of selecting the row, clicking on the button, going to another component, or opening a pop-up and then updating the values, business just want to click on edit next to the whatever the field they wanted to edit, and after edit they wanted to save it. So for that, how does it work? So in case of edit, we just need to add one more column, that is editable, one more attribute on every column. Whatever the column we wanted to make at editable, that is editable column true. And then there is a method that will be called on the onSave, that and onSave we will get all the draft values with the help of event.get parameters and then draft values. So let's go ahead, see how it works. We just need to add one attribute that will be editable as a true. Now let's make it only for phone and phone and name. So let's go ahead, save it and refresh the page. Now you can see we are able to see the pencil icon next to each attribute that we wanted to. Now if you click on this pencil icon, you will change, you are not able to get any. Yep, now you are able to see two buttons, cancel or save. So you can click on save, nothing happens. Why? Because we didn't specified the handler for that. So let's go ahead to our component, specified handler on save equal to, you can see that c dot handle draft values, and inside this method, oops, okay, it will be c. Inside this method we will be getting all the draft values whatever we have, and then we can perform those. So let's go ahead, we can say that draft records, and then we will use event dot get param, that will be draft values, and instead of doing anything we'll just go ahead and console.log the values that are draft records. So let's go ahead, refresh this page, gain point, you can see that updated. Go ahead, click on save. Now inspect this, go to the console, you can see draft record proxy array1, you can see name is gain point updated, and you are able to see the ID, that is row 0. That means let's do one thing, updated, save it, and here you will get 2 and ID is row 1. That means on the index 1 and on the index 0 we updated whatever the name is updated, that is gain point updated, and then on the index 1 we also updated the name of the record, that is row 1. So now if we'll go ahead and refresh the page, we'll not able to get the updated values. Why? Because we didn't perform the updation.